To the nightly sports call. Give us a call, 412-575-2600. Lines are open right now, or you can send me a tweet at Richie Walsh. Gene, one thing I was thinking about during this whole 25-minute pregame ceremony was, imagine if the Pirates could do something like this. How exciting it would be. They're missing out on something like this, and all that excitement in that building, all that energy, and it's a shame. You know, I wish Nutting would have been in that building to kind of feel what's going on and what they're missing out on.
Yeah, when you watch the playoffs on TV, as you do almost every year without the Pirates, save for those 3 in a row, you see exactly that, Richie, what they're missing out on and what it could be. And Pittsburgh, you know, really got behind them in those moments. You know, the famous Reds wild card game and the other wild card games too. Those are just great atmospheric moments for baseball, and they're few and far between.
You know, right now Arizona's beating Colorado. You like that one game wild card? Or are you in favor of the one game?
No, I don't even like divisions, Richie. I like when you win the pennant and go to the World Series. That's how old I am. I don't even like the playoffs, let alone the wild card.
But would you change it? I mean, because you know, you hear the one side of the argument.
There are too many teams now. There are 30 teams.
But what I mean, would you change the wild card format? Would a lot of people say, "Hey, we play 3-game series. Why not play a 3-game wild card?"
No,
I like the one wild card because it's a feel of a Game 7.
Yeah, it's an exciting game. Those games are a lot of tension. Obviously, it's an elimination game. But the other thing is, the wild card teams did not win their division. They really shouldn't be playing now, but they get to play each other, and the winner goes and obviously plays in the division series. But no, I wouldn't change it. I mean, I don't like it, but I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, and you know, the Pirates ran into a couple hot pitchers, the last 2 wild card teams. I mean, their last one in, what, 15, they won 98 games. They had the second best record in the majors, and they couldn't get past the wild card game. That's, you know, that's a shame, but that's what it's like. You know, even if you don't win your division in football, if you don't win your division in football, you're a wild card.
Before the game.
All right, let's go out to the phone lines. We got David out in the South Side. How you doing, David?
Yeah, how's everybody?
We're good.
We're great, man. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, I wanted to make a comment about Antonio Brown.
Go ahead.
And that is that usually they have him covered from the line, the second level, and the third level.
Usually, yeah.
And I feel that he had and didn't realize that the defense must have been following Ben's eyes, because it seemed like everybody went to the right side of the field.
Yeah, you know what? I was actually, I appreciate the call. You know, I was actually told today from someone in the know that that play was actually supposed to go to Brown. But, you know, Ben was under duress. He had to move to the pocket to the right. And I think maybe that makes sense with the frustration of Brown, because Brown ended up being wide open because his guy came off when he saw Ben moving to the right. And, you know, at that point, Ben would have to throw across his body, and he just wanted to get rid of the ball. So, you know, maybe it kind of makes sense now because Brown was wide open and he was the guy on that play.
Well, if that's true, and, you know, I trust your source on that, I mean, that mitigates it somewhat. But, you know, people get frustrated on the field every Sunday, every play. They don't throw things.
Yeah, and, you know, the one thing that you were saying, David, I mean, yeah, he's triple, doubled, covered. And, you know, later in the game, Ben threw into triple coverage just to try to get the ball to Brown. And sometimes he makes that play. He's no doubt has the best hands in the NFL. And like Gene said earlier, might go down as the best receiver in the history of the NFL. Let's go out to Bert out in Bell Vernon. How you doing, Bert?
Hi, Rich. Thanks. Yeah, I agree with what Gene and Joe Starkey were saying. I think Ben did, you know, kind of throw some fuel on the fire, but by the same token, I think they can warm their hands on it. I think, you know, if you just say, hey, you know, this is the guy who it all fell on when Bell was out, when Brown was out, and, you know, there was an easy one. This is a guy who works for every single inch he gets on the field, and he was wide open, and he just let it out, and, you know, sing kumbaya, give him a mulligan, and, you know, come together over it maybe.
Yeah, I'm ready to put it past me. You know, it's old news to me, but
never sing kumbaya when you're giving somebody a mulligan. That's just me. I'm sorry.
I give him a mulligan on this one. I know his frustration, and I bet if he had a chance to do it again, he might not. Like I said,
And he might.
And he might. I mean, he might do something. Who knows? There's always going to be something with Antonio Brown, and that's part of his personality.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, my only problem with it, I said last night I had a problem with him doing what he did to Haley. I don't think that's appropriate, but it showed that he was a little selfish, maybe a lot selfish, but. Yeah, I could see if he dropped the ball. Like if, I get frustrated when I miss a putt or do something. Yeah, people are competitive, but he was just open, and it's kind of felt like he was blaming Ben. And I think that's where maybe Ben, kind of overreacted or reacted to that and said what he said.
Yeah, he was blaming Ben, and Ben overreacted.
Yeah, and Ben came out and said, but, I agree.
One overreaction following the other.
I agree with Ben. I mean, he's the captain. He should hold everyone accountable. To what extent or length, that's to be determined. But I don't have a problem with what anyone said here, really. I kind of like it because it makes a good topic for this shows like this.
That's what we're doing here.
Let's go out to Mark in Morningside. How you doing, Mark?
Guys, how are you tonight?
Good. Thanks for calling.
All right, listen, where was Antonio Brown in the AFC Championship game last year? Did he do anything? His career average per catch is 12.5. Pedestrian numbers. Jimmy Graham, a tight end for the Seahawks, does that. And a couple years ago, I don't know if you're aware of this or just don't want to talk about it, they pulled the 32 general managers in the NFL. If they could start their franchise with one player from each skill position, who would it be? 31 out of the 32 said, "Give me Julio Jones. I will never look back. Bigger, stronger, faster." That's the bottom line.
Well, I mean, I look back at some of his stats. He had, 34 yards. You could only name 4 games if you go back to the last 5 years that he had less than 34 yards. The last time that it's happened, it was 2015, and one of those games was a meaningless game against Cleveland. The guy is double, triple covered all the time, and that's why you would think Martavis Bryant and Juju Smith would step up and have big games and take advantage of being single covered or open.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you. If you think Julio Jones is better, fine. Maybe he is. I'm just saying, when Antonio Brown is done, he might go into history as the best receiver ever. That's my opinion. That's yours. Fine. I'm not going to argue with you.
I mean, right now, if his career ended tomorrow, is he the best receiver in Steelers franchise history?
Yeah, probably.
To this point, and he still has probably 5, 6 more years to go. All right, we're going to take a break. Back with more of your phone calls, some of your tweets coming up next. Stay right there.